If there's one classic shooting series that sticks out in the mind of many, it has to be the Galaxian series. Best known for its 1981 sequel, Galaga, Namco's Galaxian games took the classic Space Invaders formula and spiced things up with providing no cover and assaulting players with aggressive alien bugs that would not only fire at players, but dive at them and even capture them as well. The series' evolution gets really muddled up and messy later down the line, but in the middle of it all lies what some believe is the greatest installment of all.
Galaga 88, despite what the name suggests, was released to arcades by Namco in 1987 and, despite still being a classic gallery-type static shooter, really upped the ante with awesome audio and visuals, not to mention new gameplay features and enhancements. It would later make its way to home console via the PC Engine in 1988, with the North American version for the TurboGrafx 16 in 1989 as Galaga 90. This home version does a remarkable job of recreating the arcade gameplay of the original. Let's take a closer look.
Galaga 90 really pulls out all the stops when it comes to its gameplay, despite being pretty simple. There's a good amount of risk-reward right out of the gate, since it gives players the option of starting out with just one ship or two ships at once at the cost of a life. This is a very strategic choice, the benefits of which we'll get into shortly.
The control here is pretty simple. Players move their fighter left or right and fire shots downrange by pressing either button 1 or button 2 on the turbo pad. Galaga 90 plays out like all of its predecessors. Each stage is represented by a wave of insectoid Galagan forces. Formations of bugs will enter the screen from the left, right, and top sides and settle into a formation structure that is typical of all Galaxian series games.
There are a ton of different enemies in Galaga 90 which come in all shapes, sizes, and toughness. Getting to know their behaviors and strengths will definitely take a while, but it's critical in making it further into the game's lengthy 29-stage set. It's possible to kill these enemies as they fly onto the screen, and in some cases, all can be shot down before any get into formation at all.
So why even let them get into formation at all? Well, one of the hallmarks of Galaga returns in Galaga 90. Player ships can be captured by Galagan commanders. These commanders will swoop down and emit a tractor beam that steals the player's ship from them if they're caught in it. They're also tougher than your average bug, so they need to be hit multiple times to be destroyed, changing colors to indicate how many times they've been hit.
This is where the single or dual ship selection comes in. If a player is captured, players have a chance at reclaiming the ship that was snatched away. Reclaimed ships fall into formation with the ship in play, offering enhanced firepower to take on Galagan formations with greater ease. However, it's also possible for a two-ship formation to be captured as well. If these ships are recovered, all three merge into a superpowered triple ship with enhanced firepower that could be described as maybe a little OP. The downside? The triple ship is huge.
If a lone player is hit, it is destroyed and the player will lose a life. By the same token, ships in formation represent multiple lives in play at once. If ships in formation are hit, the remaining ship will stay in play. A triple ship works exactly the same way, but will revert to a two-ship formation if hit. Galaga 90 has a pretty decent extend score, allowing for multiple additional lives to be collected throughout the game. So, if a triple ship is lost, another can be obtained later on with skill. In addition, collecting a red capsule will automatically upgrade the player to a triple ship.
Galaga 90 is a very long game. It can take quite a while to see the later stages, indicated by pegs and crests in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Not only are there a ton of areas to play through and conquer, there's also the occasional scrolling stage, which will shake things up a bit with multiple formations to attack and even a huge boss Galagan at the end. Galaga 90 is also very challenging, especially towards the end of the game, so plenty of practice will be needed to see things to the end.
There's also no difficulty selection or options of any kind, really. Instead, players can adjust how hard the game gets as they progress from area to area via dimensional warp. Blue capsules can be found in destructible stage elements and also drop from specific enemies. When a player has 2 of them, they'll trigger a dimensional rift after the area's galactic dancing bonus round, sending them to a harder set of stages.
This can be done several times, ultimately leading to a super aggressive final area where skilled players can fight the true final boss. Of course, it will take a long time to even see the end of the normal run-of-the-mill difficulty, so there's obviously quite a bit of replay here. Thankfully, Galaga 90 is supremely playable and super fun to boot. It truly is a great example of an easy-to-learn, tough-to-master title that will reward players that put time and effort into it without the need of super complex gameplay mechanics. And that's key too, since anyone can just pick up and play this awesome title without much previous experience and still have a great time with it.
Galaga 90 is also a game that offers high score chasers a ton of ways to get their scores up, which enhances its gameplay even more.
As is typically the case of most fixed shooters, enemy destruction is where the vast majority of a player's score is going to come from. But shooting the heck out of enemy waves with a triple ship before they even settle into formation might not be the best way to go about things, as we'll soon see.
There are a number of enemies that will change and morph seemingly at random. When it happens, a player will often get a sizable bonus when the mutated enemy is defeated. Small minions merging into larger ones will not only result in a kill bonus, but also a warp capsule, if one hadn't yet been collected. Some minions can mutate into several completely different minions with new attack patterns. Taking out all of them grants a bonus. Others still will burst into multiple smaller minions that grant a bonus when all are defeated.
Meanwhile, warp capsules add 600 points to a player's score when collected. Since only 2 can be had at any given time, this is ultimately a small bonus even over time. The real bonus is when a dimensional shift occurs. This can only be done until the final dimension is accessed.
Galactic dancing stages are also a great source of points as well. Galagans will appear and dance about the screen without firing shots or diving at the player. Players get a bonus relative to how many Galagans are shot. If all of the Galagans are defeated without missing any, a perfect score bonus that starts at 10,000 points and climbs as dimensions are crossed is awarded. These galactic dancing stages occur between each area and vary greatly from one another, so getting to know the patterns and how to efficiently take all of the Galagans out in these rounds is critical to maximizing the overall score.
But there's also a neat secret scoring technique that's even more of a sure thing than hitting every Galagan. Shooting no shots and hitting no Galagans grants a secret score that starts at 10,000 points and climbs as the difficulty does. Finally, and as is obviously the case, no battery-backed or online scores exist here, so if you want to show off your best, grab that digital camera and post it to your favorite high score forum. Galaga 90 is a proper evolution of the Galaga series, and it shows. Especially in 1987, the audio visuals in this game versus the 1981 original were incredible. Even on the PC Engine and TurboGrafx 16, Galaga 90 really pops.
First and foremost, the visuals in Galaga 90 are bright, vibrant, and colorful. The Galagan minions and commanders all have bright, clear designs with a fantastic color palette. Some defeated Galagans even burst when shot, like colorful fireworks. There are also so many different Galagan enemy types to see throughout the game, and that's not even counting going to new dimensions. Not only does the dimensional rift look super creepy in an awesome way, each dimensional shift changes enemies' designs and attack patterns.
Meanwhile, Galaga 90's backgrounds are bright and vibrant. Whether you're fighting over a planet of ice or by the space station seen in Namco's Boscodian, there's never really a dull moment visually in this game. With such clear visuals, nothing is lost or hidden either. You'll always be able to see enemies and their shots with ease, so if you bite it, it's all on you. Some elements from the arcade original are missing, like the little monster animations at the start of an area and the multiple area backgrounds from the arcade version, but it's not nearly a deal breaker.
Galaga 90 might leave a bit to be desired with its sound though. Outside of the series' trademark theme at Game Start, there really isn't much in terms of music. The galactic dancing and scrolling stages make up the majority of the soundtrack, which is then rounded out by a chill theme at Game Over when players see how far they've gotten, followed by the rank in screen, if they've scored high enough.
That doesn't mean the sound in Galaga 90 isn't good. Far from it. Diving enemies, shots, tractor beams, explosions, it all sounds pretty fantastic thanks to the TurboGrafx 16's powerful sound engine. It replicates the arcade sound pretty much perfectly. Again, along with the small Galagan portraits that appeared in the arcade version, the sound samples that accompanied them also don't exist here.
Galaga 90 is a pretty great game. It's just as fun to play now as it was all those years ago at release. So how does it stack up? Let's take a look.
The controls in Galaga 90 are perhaps the most refined in the entire series.
Galaga 90 is so easy to control, anyone can jump in and have a good time.
Galaga 90 offers players a game that they can scale to their taste.
The multiple dimensions and their escalating difficulty are an awesome feature.
With a total of 29 stages, Galaga 90's length is extensive.
The dimensional shifting mechanic also enhances its replay.
Almost arcade-perfect visuals make Galaga 90 look fantastic.
Some missing features and changing backgrounds sting a bit, but it's not a deal breaker in the least.
However, Galaga 90's sound is more or less arcade-perfect.
It's just too bad that there weren't more BGM tracks for the main stages. The theme for the scrolling stages is great though.
Galaga 90 was easily the biggest leap on a technical level in the Galaxian series for its time, both in its gameplay and its fantastic presentation.
Sure, later games would boast fancy 3D graphics and enhanced sound, but the gameplay in Galaga 90 represents what we feel is the apex of the series.
Galaga 90 is simply a timeless game. Not many of the arcade machines for Galaga 88 were produced, which meant that nowhere near as many people had played it by comparison to the 1981 original. Thankfully, the PC Engine and TurboGrafx 16 versions are just as playable and absolutely essential to any shooting game fan's library. Galaga 90 gets a 4.75 out of 5. You can get a copy of Galaga 88 on the PC Engine for cheap, like really cheap. Complete copies often sell at auction for well under $20. Sadly, as is the case with most TurboGrafx 16 games, fully complete copies are about $100. Less complete copies are far less expensive though. There's even a version called Galaga 91 for the Game Gear. Galaga 90 was also available for the Wii Virtual Console for about $68, and the arcade version is part of the Namco Museum Virtual Arcade Collection on Xbox 360. Any way you choose, Galaga 90 is a guaranteed winner. This review is produced with a copy of the game purchased pre-owned through private sale. The opinions expressed are our own and are not paid for by the developer or publisher in any way.